college students from coast to coast out in protest.
Jewish and Palestinian Americans stand united for peace.
Arizona takes a major step toward getting rid of a century-old abortion ban. The clock has started for TikTok to be sold or banned in the U.S.
The first mayoral forum since the primary, tackling issues from homelessness to the city's budget.
The city of Carlsbad is one step closer in getting the final say when it comes to plans in expanding Palomar Airport.
New additions to premium experiences at the San Diego Zoo Safari Park. We take a closer look. CBS 8 News Live at 11 starts right now. We begin tonight with pro-Palestinian protests taking place at major universities across the country. Hundreds of New Yorkers remain in their tents on Columbia University's campus even after a deadline to dismantle the encampment. On the Harvard Yard, dozens of students began setting up tents in solidarity with other student-led demonstrations against the war in Gaza. Police officers in Austin, Texas, tried to disperse protesters at the University of Texas by using horses and riot gear, resulting in the arrest of at least 50 people. And closer to home, more than 90 people were arrested at the University of Southern California amid clashes with authorities at the school. Those crowds cleared around 9 tonight. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Carlo Cicchetto.
I'm Marcella Lee. Here in San Diego, Jewish and Palestinian Americans stood side by side to call for peace. Dozens gathered at Balboa Park to call for a ceasefire in Gaza and demand that local leaders take action. CBS 8's Rocio de la Fe shows us what happened tonight and talked with demonstrators.
San Diego's Jewish community is celebrating Passover tonight, and here at Balboa Park, Jewish and Palestinian demonstrators stood side by side to call on local leaders to take a stand against what's happening in Gaza.
We are taking to the streets.
People from various backgrounds and religions stood together with unified demands.
On this Passover, we're witnessing a genocide that's being carried out in the name of the Jewish people in Gaza by the Israeli government, funded by U.S. taxpayers.
We're here to show that we exist with each other, we love one another. We want to see an end to the violence.
Our hearts are shattered.
Those here tonight are protesting the humanitarian catastrophe in Gaza and the loss of life of innocent civilians. They're also calling on the U.S. to cut financial ties with Israel.
It's about time that this money is used to take care of us. I want to see my money, my taxes be used to benefit me, not be used to fund Israel to kill my people.
People of all backgrounds are uniting against really horrific massacre that's continuing in our names and with our tax dollars.
On Saturday, all 5 local congressional leaders voted in favor of the foreign aid bill, which included about $26 billion for Israel. Tonight, those gathered in support of a ceasefire wrote letters and marched several blocks down the street to deliver them to Congresswoman Sarah Jacobs' home, but were turned away by building staff. Their plan is to deliver the letters to Jacobs' office tomorrow.
She allowed this money to go to Israel in this recent vote, and we can't stand for that.
Our members of Congress and our senators are not representing their constituents.
Tonight's event is part of dozens of protests happening across the country at college campuses.
We need liberation and justice to be able to achieve peace.
Many here tonight say they won't stop fighting until there's a ceasefire. Rocio de la Fe, CBS 8.
Thank you, Rocio. Tonight, the man accused of entering a Linda Vista home and sexually assaulting a 5-year-old girl is behind bars.
22-year-old Alejandro Jose Confessor appeared in court for the first time today and pleaded not guilty. He is facing 6 charges and the possibility of life in prison. The judge ordered Confessor be held without bail. Prosecutors say he returned to the home just days after the attack and was captured on a security camera.
Someone who returns to a residence and commits the crimes that are alleged, we think is a public safety risk, so we believe no bail was warranted.
Confessor was working as a cook in a restaurant and has no criminal background. He's due back in court next week. Tonight, dozens of voters turned out for a mayoral candidates forum, the first since the primary election in March.
CBS 8's Richard Allen is here with more on who showed up and the issues that are front and center of people's minds. Richard.
And Carlo and Marcella, both incumbent Democratic Mayor Todd Gloria and his opponent, San Diego police officer Larry Turner, an independent, were invited to tonight's event. It was sponsored by the nonpartisan San Diego County Taxpayers Association. And while Mayor Gloria was unable to attend, Larry Turner fielded a number of questions from taxes to safety to homelessness from an overwhelmingly supportive audience.
You know, we have not been the finest city for a very long time, and it's time to bring that back.
At Wednesday's forum held at the University Club downtown, mayoral candidate Larry Turner shared his take on the city's homeless crisis.
It has increased every month for the past 24 months. It has increased. All right, the deaths on the street have increased every year.
Turner proposed adding more behavioral health units to work directly with those homeless on San Diego's streets, as well as taking a more compassionate tack.
How am I going to fix it is with a different approach than the Housing First program. Housing First does work for some people, but it doesn't work for the majority of them out there. We got to help them with the underlying problem that they have, and I want to do that.
Audience member Kevin Waller voiced his concern for what he believes is the biggest issue on voters' minds as they head to the polls this fall.
How we're going to save people money. You know, how he or the other candidates are going to be able to save people money here. You know, the cost of living in San Diego is actually number one. For major cities.
The biggest thing I want to do is increase the amount of green in everybody's wallet.
Okay. Turner touched on what he plans to do to achieve that.
The biggest thing the mayor could do is bringing the businesses back into San Diego and cutting taxes.
On that front, Turner also fielded a question on the proposed 1-cent sales tax increase that voters will be deciding this November.
Am I in favor of it? No, I'm not at all. As I said, we're going to have auditors come in and look at the books on day one, and we're going to run this like a business, and we're going to balance this budget in the right way and spend money on the priorities. It's about safety, it's about homelessness, and it's about the infrastructure.
Addressing Mayor Gloria's proposed $5.65 billion budget in the face of a deficit of nearly $137 million, Turner said more funding needs to go toward communities he says have been historically underserved.
It's a big difference when you're driving to different communities in this town. I don't see any of that in the budget. That's something that we're gonna really tackle hard. Is the places that have been left behind are going to catch back up.
And Mayor Gloria's team sent us a statement saying that this forum was advertised without ever receiving confirmation that Mayor Gloria could attend. They also say that the mayor does plan to debate at a later time closer to the election when voters are, quote, most interested in this race.
So there will be debates in the future.
That's right. And it might even be another debate hosted by the Taxpayers Association. The head of the Taxpayers Association is trying to work with Gloria's team to see if perhaps it could work into his schedule to come closer to the election to either speak by himself or perhaps debate Turner as well. But needless to say, there will be more opportunities for debate.
And people are familiar with Mayor Gloria, but this is a chance for Turner to get his point across.
Absolutely, yeah. And we have a ways to go before the election.
Quite a few months.
Yes.
It's April.
Yeah.
Thanks, Richard.
All right, thank you.
Tonight, we're working for you after a CBS 8 viewer reached out to us about this, a safety concern in the South Bay. Today, we visited a homeless encampment underneath the 15. Tents aren't unusual in this area, but this cave is. It appears people have been digging into the side of the embankment right along the freeway to create this shelter. We found what looked like a couple of makeshift bedrooms. A woman who asked us not to identify her says this hole has gotten much bigger over just the past few days and does look dangerous.
I think I'm not the only one that's concerned. There's a lot of people concerned because it's not safe. But I mean, they're hard-headed.
CBS 8 reported this cave to Caltrans, and they took immediate action. They advised people living there to pack up and leave. Caltrans told us they are now working to shore up that slope, but they also say the road above is safe for travel.
New tonight, the city of Carlsbad is taking steps to gain more control of Palomar Airport.
CBS 8's Jasmine Ramirez is working for you and shares what the city just approved and what will happen next.
The county owns and operates Palomar Airport and will continue to do so. Now the city of Carlsbad is working to get more authority and approve plans to expand the airport.
Just this whole thing is really about local control. The airport is owned by the county, but it sits smack in the middle of Carlsbad. and Carlsbad has the legal right to have the final say.
Hope Nelson and Vicky Sayage are part of the group Citizens for a Friendly Airport. They say the airport was annexed by the city decades ago.
The city is taking the first steps to retain or regain its local control.
Last night, the Carlsbad City Council voted unanimously to begin the process of gaining local control of the airport and final word in expansion projects. Next, they'll draft amendments and local agencies will weigh in.
And it has to go through different agencies, the San Diego Airport Authority.
Working for you, I learned the county's airport master plan includes extending the runway to allow for larger aircraft. Under these new changes, the city would get the final word on the project.
This whole thing about local control will ultimately give the city of Carlsbad an opportunity to weigh in on whether that happens or not.
When it comes to noise complaints at the airport, especially in the late night hours, the FAA is in charge. The agency controls who flies in, flight paths, and what times flights happen.
It's voluntary at Palomar Airport. The community has to rely on the goodwill and the discipline of the pilots that choose to fly in and out of there, but ultimately that control relies with the FAA and the federal government.
Jasmine Ramirez, CBS 8.
Thanks, Jasmine. Designed specifically for the backcountry, CAL FIRE's newest addition to the San Diego fleet will be able to off-road in all types of terrain.
The department put 2 of these converted Ford Transit vans into service 9 months ago. One is in Ocotillo Wells near the Anza Borrego Desert. The other is in Shelter Valley, that's east of Julian. A third will soon be stationed on Palomar Mountain. CAL FIRE says the vehicles are great for accessing areas a helicopter can't reach.
Coming up, Governor Gavin Newsom wants to allow Arizona abortion doctors to work here in California.
Plus, bringing more transparency to the cost of air travel. The new rules aimed at protecting millions of Americans who fly.
And what were the oldest animals to glow? After the break, the new study that offers a clue.